Hey everyone, Abby from Abbi Kirsten Collections here, and today I'm going to teach you how to apply multiple layers of iron-on vinyl onto wood. You can find these templates linked below, and you can also find full tutorials for painting and sealing wood signs below as well. Alright, so let's go over the supplies. You're going to need to make a wood sign with iron-on vinyl. So in another video, I've talked about how to paint your wood signs and seal them, and even how to apply a permanent vinyl, because you can use both permanent adhesive vinyl as well as iron-on vinyl when it comes to applying any type of vinyl to wood. Both can be used. There's pros and cons to each, so I have a separate video on that, but in this video today we're going to be talking about placing iron-on vinyl onto wood. Iron-on vinyl for me is my preference because it to me is a little bit of a smoother process. It looks nicer on the wood when it's done. It looks more like it's a part of the sign as opposed to more of like a decal. And with iron-on vinyl, you can find a lot of different shades and textures that sometimes you can't find in a permanent vinyl. For example, I'm going to be incorporating a glitter vinyl for one of my pumpkins today because I want to be able to see how glitter vinyl behaves on wood in contrast to just sort of a basic everyday iron-on vinyl. And I even have for the greenery here, it's sort of a metallic iron-on. So there's some different types of textures and shades of things you can go for, and I'm testing here to see how that's going to perform on wood, to see if there's one that doesn't work or whatever that might look like. As far as supplies go, obviously you will need iron-on vinyl. You'll need a Cricut machine to cut your vinyl out on. You're going to need a Cricut mat. You'll need a weeding tool. You may find a brayer helpful as well to push the material to the mat. And then you're going to need a heat press. I'm going to be using an Easy Press 3, but you can use a smaller Easy Press. You could use the mini if you have the mini. It's just going to have to work in sections. You could use the Easy Press 2. Any of those other types of heat presses can work as well. Additionally, you're also going to want to make sure you have some uncoated butcher paper or like a heat-safe Teflon reusable sheet. Because you do not want to burn and scorch your painted wood when you're using heat on wood, and this helps protect that. So make sure you at least have some uncoated butcher paper because we're going to be using that. When we're making this sign, we're going to be adding multiple layers here. So we're going to have to place heat on several times, and we want to make sure the wood isn't being ruined or scorched, and this is going to help that keep that from happening. So make sure you have some uncoated butcher paper. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our sign. Alright, so there isn't really a lot of setup you have to do in Cricut Design Space. You can go and find these files for our premium members on members.abbikirstencollections.com. Just type in the word seasonal wood sign at the top and you'll find these designs. I'm planning on adding some more designs as well, but this is just a starter step. So if you're bringing in these SVG files, you'll click on the upload button here on the left hand side and then click upload image and browse your computer. So you'll just click on the SVG file and then click open, and it will drop here into Design Space as a preview. Click upload at the bottom corner, select it under recent uploads, and click add to canvas at the bottom corner. Okay, so the only thing you really need to think about with these designs is your scaling. So what size does this need to be? Does it need to be, like, what size is your sign? So I recommend putting these on a round wood sign, although you can put them on other shaped signs or other project as well, but that's kind of what they were intended for when these designs were made. So just think about your size, measure your sign. If you need some help visualizing this, you can always grab a shape from the shapes panel, like a circle, and drop it onto the canvas here. And then scale it up. Let's say I have a 12 by 12 sign, okay? You could do, well, we could actually type it in right up here and get it exact, 12 by 12. And then we could come over to operation with this, this circle selected, come over to operation, click the drop down and click on guide. And then this is just going to give you basically a template guide to use for this. So clearly our snowman that we just imported there, he's too big. We're going to shrink that down and then place it here, and that'll help give us a visual if it's a good size. So you could do that with any of these, and that's just very helpful to use those guides. Guides do not cut out when you go to the cut screen, so you can either keep them on the screen or you can delete them when you're done with them. It doesn't matter either way, they will not cut out. They're just there for reference. I'm just going to delete this duplicate copy here real quick because we don't need it. we're going to be cutting out this one in this tutorial, so I'm just going to group these real quick and hide it in the layers panel over here. I already have it set to scale, and that's what's going to fit my sign. I am going to be cutting these on a mat, but if you happen to be using like a smart iron-on, then you wouldn't need to cut on a mat. You could select that. Smart materials generally only work with like the Explore 3 or the Maker 3 or newer model. So once you've decided if you're cutting on a mat or if you're using a smart material, just click confirm. Because we are using an iron-on heat transfer vinyl here, we do need to mirror. If we do not mirror, then everything is going to end up backwards on our sign. So just take a second on this screen and go through and click to toggle on that mirror selection there to make sure that when we actually place these down, everything is facing the correct direction. Once you've done that, click continue, and it's going to connect to your Cricut machine. You can use an Explore 3, a Maker 3, Explorer 2, Original Maker. Any of those full-size machines for this type of project will work just fine. And I'm going to click on Browse All Materials. I'm going to be using an everyday iron-on and also a glitter iron-on. So I'm just going to type in iron-on. And we're going to select everyday iron-on here and click Done. And now it's time to go ahead and load our material onto our mat. So anytime you're working with an iron-on vinyl, you need to make sure you mirror in Cricut Design Space because you will be placing it shiny side down. And you want to place it shiny side down just like this so that the actual material is being cut up here and the liner is underneath. And that's why we have to reverse it, because if we didn't mirror it, it would be the opposite direction, and that's not what we want. So always shiny side down and load it onto your mat here. And if you struggle with getting your material to stick, you can use this brayer tool here. In some cases you just need a fresh mat, but the brayer tool will extend the life of getting materials to your mat quite a bit. So good to go there. I'm going to go ahead and load this up into my Cricut machine. I'm going to push the flashing play icon, might also be a Cricut icon. That just means you're ready to go and proceed with the cut. Alright, so the cut is done, and you'll just want to peel your vinyl away here. Like I said, I am mixing some different vinyls here because I'm basically testing that different types of iron-on vinyls are going to work well on wood. That way you'll know for your particular project. And then you're going to need to weed each of your layers. I've already weeded a lot of my layers here. This is one I'm finishing. And you're going to pull back that extra vinyl there. Alright, once you have all of your vinyl weeded, go ahead and just sort of set it aside, and we're going to go ahead and heat up our Easy Press. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and heat up our Easy Press here. I'm using the Easy Press 3, the full size, but you can use the smaller one, the Easy Press 2. You can even use the mini if you're doing a smaller sign or you're just okay working in sections. I'm going to power on my Easy Press here, and I'm going to set this to 280 for 30 seconds. If you look up the timing, as of this point in time, Cricut recommends 300 degrees for 40 seconds for our iron-on onto our wood. I decreased this a little bit because we're adding things in layers. So I'm gonna actually decrease this from 300 to 280. And then the time, we're going to take it down from 40 seconds to 30 seconds. Just because we're gonna be pressing multiple times with our layers, I don't wanna overheat the material, so I'm giving a little bit of extra grace there. And we're gonna let this heat up for just a minute, and we're gonna go ahead and prep what we've got here. Now, one thing that I would recommend doing is looking at your image on the screen as you're working on putting this together, because it's gonna help you, just guide you with, okay, where is this item supposed to go? Am I kind of placing it in the right position? That kind of stuff. You can also cut down your liners a little bit to where you can kind of press and overlap things all at once. So for example, with this one, I'm going to cut the liner really closely here so that I can kind of press all of this at once. Okay, same thing with this one. I'm going to cut all this extra off here. If you like the templates that you're seeing here, these SVG files for fall, and I have ones for winter and spring and summer as well, you can find them linked below. It is part of my member vault for members.abbikirstencollections.com. So you'll be able to check those out and download them for yourself. I'm gonna go ahead and just do the same thing here. All right, so the first thing I wanna do here is I wanna get these placed. So I'm gonna start just by kind of guessing where it would go based on the image I'm looking at on the screen. And then we can adjust if we need to. And if you need to trim your liners down even a little bit more. All right, so I have a general idea here. I'm happy with where the 3 of these pumpkins are placed. There's no liners that are overlapping to where I'm gonna press the liner to the incorrect surface. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna press these all at once, and I'm gonna grab some of this uncoated butcher paper here. I'm actually gonna grab 2 sheets. And we're gonna cover, if you have some heat safe tape and you wanna tape things down, you can do that as well. Living on the dangerous side here. We're gonna cover the wood here to protect it. All right, so now our wood area is protected. Our easy press is heated and ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and place this down and count down for 30 seconds here. Okay, so one of the most important things you need to know about working with iron-on vinyl on wood is that you do not want to try and remove these liners until this is fully cooled, because since we're working on a hard surface here and not a cloth-like surface, that bonding adhesive that is activated with heat, it's not going to have time to activate and to stick if we try and lift the liner right now. So you have to let it cool in order for all of this vinyl to properly stick to our wood surface. Now, while this area down here is cooling, I can work on placing my Hello Autumn part up here at the top. All right, so that is where I want it. I'm gonna go ahead and place this down, and I'll press the top half now. All right, so that top part is done. Butcher paper again. Again, we got to make sure that this properly cools down, so we're not going to lift anything until it's cool. This is still warm to the touch, so I'm going to give it a little bit longer, and then we're going to remove the liners before we move on to the stem and the leaves. Now, if for any reason you let everything fully cool and the liner's lifting and you see that your vinyl is not sticking, you may want to set the press down for like 15 seconds and do a little bit more heat, let it cool, and then try again. Usually that's all you need to do, and it'll get the job done. So I'm gonna let this finish cooling up here. I had to do a repress because right here it wasn't quite getting it, but these are cool down here, so I'm gonna go ahead and start peeling the liners up. So nice and slow. All right, so the pumpkin part is done. So this is a contrast between an everyday iron-on and a glitter iron-on. Now, with one reason I love using iron-on on wood, with the everyday iron-on, it looks like it was actually kind of painted onto the wood. And then of course this is glitter, so it doesn't, but it almost looks like this maybe was stenciled on. And that's an effect you can't get with, say, like a permanent glossy vinyl. It looks much different. So I really love this effect. I'm gonna go ahead and add on my greenery at the bottom here. While this part is still cooling a little bit. So we're just gonna place our greenery down and then make sure you're covering anywhere where that heat press is touching your wood. And we're gonna press this now. All right, so I'm letting that cool down here, and let's see, I can go ahead and add on some of these stem pieces here. I'm gonna cut these apart. All right, so this little stem piece goes right here. I'm gonna place that down. And if you happen to have an Easy Press Mini, working with these smaller pieces, it can be convenient to have that heated too. I would set that to the medium setting, so I'm just gonna demonstrate that here, since I happen to have an Easy Press Mini, but you can of course lay the full press down again as well. I just like the control that Easy Press Mini gives me when I'm working with these smaller little pieces here. All right, so this one is pretty much almost completely cool. It's barely warm. There we go. So that is good to go up there. This one's still a little hot, so we're gonna go ahead and add this piece on next. Alright, so there is how we added multiple layers of iron-on vinyl onto wood. I used an everyday iron-on, I used a glitter iron-on, I even used a metallic iron-on. They all worked fine at the same similar temperature, and now we have a beautiful sign we can reuse year after year. If you want to see how I do this exact same thing but with permanent adhesive vinyl, I have a separate video on that where I'll walk you through it as I layer all of this. And if you want more help with how to paint and seal your signs, I have other videos on that as well. They're available to you at the link below in the video description. So make sure you check them out, and you can go download all of our seasonal sign designs at members.abbikirstencollections.com, and I hope to see you guys there. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.